Do you too?
We're about to replace compact.
We wanted to like a pretty small webhook that goes to a service that would just with some widgets, electronic give out caller information so that when the sales person has
I run that look at all such Okay, all, welcome. Thanks for showing up tonight. For those of you who have not been to an SB JavaScript meetup before, we are a group of JavaScript enthusiasts locally of all skill levels. We believe that, at least I believe, that there is no one perfect language, or we'd all be using Lisp or Elm. But the reality is that being a polyglot programmer will make you a better programmer. If you don't know what polyglot means, it means speaking multiple languages. And so the JavaScript is just another language out there. All languages have warts, and all languages have gold, some more than others. There's probably more warts in JavaScript than other languages, and so it gets a lot of flack. But there's also some pretty amazing gold in there. But regardless of whether you love it or hate it, learning more than one language will make you a better programmer. It'll make you a better programmer in general. It'll also make you go back to your language of choice and appreciate it from a different angle. So it's really important to have that breadth of exposure as well as depth. So anyway, we like JavaScript. We think it's got some gold. And we're a group that meets once monthly to talk about things JavaScript. We're trying to get some other things going. My co-organizer, Garvin Kusky over here, is working with the Learn to Code Santa Barbara group to do a once monthly meeting the second Thursday of every month. And you guys are going to build an app out, yeah?
Second week, not
second week.
Days.
Yeah. So we did a joint meetup with those guys. Was that this year or last year? On object-oriented JavaScript. And it was a great success. We had a lot of people here. I think we got a lot of good feedback from it. And so they've asked for our help, and we are more than happy to jump in and do that. So before we go any further, I want to take care of some housekeeping stuff. I want to thank WorkZones for hosting us tonight. And WorkZones is the space you're in right now. They provide co-located meeting and workspace. And if anybody is interested in trying out the space, we can provide guest passes. See Sarah about it, and you can come check it out. And then if you like it, you can give them your money. Other sponsors include my employer, Agilicis, who provided the pizza tonight. Thanks, Agilicis. We also used to host events at Agilicis, but for the most part, we probably could have fit them tonight. But for the most part, our events are attracting more people than we can fit in the meeting space we have over there at our offices in Goleta. We also have PayJunction as a sponsor. They hosted an event for us a couple months ago. Those guys are also great. Check them out. And lastly, we have a partner relationship with O'Reilly Media, and we get conference discounts, which is really cool. I actually went to their software architecture conference last week in San Francisco. The only reason I didn't use our conference discounts because I got a better conference discount. But we get 20% off all O'Reilly conferences, and if we use that discount 3 times, I get a free conference pass. No, I'll raffle it off. Some lucky person. But we also get book and video discounts and a bunch of free content. If you're interested in that, there's a link on the discussion forum on the Meetup site, or come see me and I'll let you know how it works, what the codes are, the free content, all that kind of good stuff. Next month, we have a presentation on D3 by Ryan Paul, who's not here tonight. That's also going to be back here at WorkZones. And after that, I got nothing. Great. So we need somebody to do a presentation in January. And if nobody steps up to the plate, it means I'm going to come do another presentation. It'll probably be an encore, because I'm busy as hell closing escrow on the house, and I'm going to Hawaii in 2 weeks. So it ain't going to happen. I'm not going to put something together before January. So somebody please step up to the plate. You can stand up here where I'm standing right now, where Luan's going to be standing in just a few short minutes. I'm dazzling with JavaScript expertise. It doesn't have to even be coding specific. Anything that's related to JavaScript. If you're programming knitting machines with JavaScript, we want to know about it. Okay? Anything.
Max does that stuff.
So beyond that, I think that's all the housekeeping stuff I have. Again, we need speakers for the new year. So put your thinking hats on, come up with something really cool. And without further ado, we're going to hear from Luan about RegEx in 2016.
Thanks, Tim. All right, so this is actually my second JavaScript meetup. I'm Luan. I'm a customer success engineer at Invoca. Started that in July, and I've been ramping up a lot on JavaScript over this past few months, mostly with Garvin, big mentor right there. So I've been working with RegEx lately, and decided it would be a good idea to do a presentation on it. I'm not going to do a deep dive on RegEx. It's going to be more of an overview. I plan to cover a little bit of history on how RegEx started, and then go into more details on how RegEx works in JavaScript, some cool online tool testers out there that you can test your RegEx with, and some use cases that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. So let's get started. So first of all, very basics, regex, symbols that describe a text pattern. You see them everywhere. You can use them to check if your password has an uppercase letter and a lowercase letter and a symbol and all that stuff. You can check address books and all that. And basically, it needs an expression processor, regular expression processor that will understand that regex. What is regex is not. It's not a programming language. There are no variables in regex. You can't add 1 + 1. So not a programming language. However, a lot of programming languages use regex, and so there are different flavors of regex. They have different flags and different things that you can do and use, and so on. So getting started a little bit in the history goes way, way back. In 1943, these two guys, McCulloch and Pitts, they developed this model of how the brain works, or how basically computers basically could work to be built like a brain. So like they started doing this modeling. There's nothing related to basically to the digital era right then. It was just basically modeling. And then Stephen Kleen basically builds on top of that, and he describes these models with algebra. So he does all this, basically builds these regular sets, and he calls them regular expressions. So Stephen Kleen is the guy who first coins the term, but again, still not in the digital age. It's not built into any programming or anything like that, but all the models are out there. And then who really picks it up and brings it into the computers is Ken Thompson. Ken Thompson was one of the main developers for Unix, and he gets regex and puts in ed. Ed was basically the text editor for Unix, and that's kind of how regex gets into this digital era. And because Unix, grows so quickly, regex also grows with Unix. So those, the early days of regex are very much tied with Unix. So in ed, you could basically do G / your regex and then /p. So basically, it's a globally look for this pattern and print it out. And most people know what grep is. Grep becomes so huge, so popular, that it becomes its own program, its own, like, people use it as a verb. I'm going to grep this, grep that. So basically, grep becomes very popular across the Unix environment, and also helps grow regex. So around this time in the 70s, Unix was very popular because, one, it was free, and two, it was very high quality programming that you could use. So basically, a lot of the universities who are teaching computer science basically are teaching in Unix. So all this new generation of programmers, know Unix, and so therefore they know regex. So, all these new programming languages are, being built. There's a lot of programmers out there. They're doing all these different kinds of things and adding a lot of syntax to regex. And it's kind of the Wild West. So in 1986, POSIX is created, the Portable Operating System Interface. And basically what this does, it ensures compatibility, because now they're starting to have a lot of issues with backwards compatibility, because, they're building out all these new syntax. Some programming languages support it, some didn't. So basically, they create these two standards. There's the basic regular expressions, which is grep, and that is basically just maintained to ensure that the older programming languages basically would support regex, and they were limited. They were just being maintained for the older programs. And then extended regular expressions is basically the new, with all the new syntaxes, and they are, all the new programming languages are basically incorporating egrep. So 1986, same time as POSIX comes out, Herring Spencer releases a regex library written in C. Because it was a library, a lot of people could incorporate. It was very easy, and it, again, provided that consistency, so everyone knew what that library had and basically knew what to expect. Again, that consistency, that it spreads really well. That library becomes very popular, and in 1987, Larry Wall basically uses that library into Perl. And I'm not very familiar with Perl, but from what I read, it was very popular, had very powerful features, and everyone loves it, and everyone wants to build their programming languages to be compatible with Perl. So basically, again, regex, expanding with another programming language that becomes very popular, very powerful. So a lot of the Perl compatible languages are, written down over here, including JavaScript. And as you can see, a lot of those programming languages are basically the ones that are going to be used to build out the web, build out websites, and so that's how regex basically gets into the web, as how we know today. And yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, for sure. Is it? Am I in? Just need to share my screen. Oh, good? No? I'm gonna just.
There we go.
Oh, did it work?
Yeah, we're good. Thank you.
All right. Sorry. So now getting to regex and JavaScript. So in JavaScript, there are two ways that you can, build in your regex. First, there's the regular expression literal. So basically, just declare a variable, and then you use your regex constructor right there. And this is advised to be, to just declare your your regex as a variable when basically you already know what the pattern is on page load, or you're not taking it as an input from any users or from any other functions. So they're already declared ahead of time. It's much more efficient in that way. But you can also use the constructor function of the regex, because regex in JavaScript is an object. So it has methods, and one of them, and it has a constructor that you can basically use. If you have a set of functions or a set of variables that you can basically call inside to build out your regex from different variables or from different users and all that. So these are the two options. And like I said, regex is an object, it has its own methods. So these are the two, most used methods from regex, but we can also use a lot of the string methods that we're going to go into detail later. But basically, the two best things you can do with the regex methods is basically see if there was a match with your pattern, or or receive if it was true or false if there was a match, or you could get the match back using the exact method. So just to give a quick example here. Basically, we can declare let's see. Yeah, of course. So we can do name, Garvin. And then we can build out a regex. As you guys can see, I was testing that out before. That's from last night. All right. So regex pattern here, it basically just looks for a word with one or more characters, a space, one or more characters, word again. And then we can use our exec to look for the match. So let's store that in a variable for matching. And we can do exec and then name. Now we can call matching. There you go. Found a match. So very simple. And if we do the test, it also should be very simple. We can do testing. It would be regex, test. And then it returns true because there was match. And we can also use the string methods. So again, there's the match, which works just like the exec, but it's a string method, not a regex method. But you can use very powerful things like search, replace, split, and things like that. So for example, if we want to replace Garvin's name, we can do replacing, and then we can do name, replace, and then we put our regex pattern here. And then because we use groups there, we can actually call the matches and just do this.
Oh man, you just dropped out again.
Oh no. It might be Safari. You know what? 4 hours stand-up every morning. I use Safari on Google Hangouts because it works better than on Chrome. So. One moment, please.
I'm just share your screen.
Yeah. So that's some of the things that you can do with regex, and I mean it's very powerful. Those examples I gave are the most simple ones, but you can see how it starts. It can be very, very cool. You can loop through an array and then have an array of names normally, and then you can just replace, change, push into another array or something like that. It's fun. So when I was preparing for this presentation, I found that there are a lot of tools out there that you can use to test your regex, and those are really important because it's so easy to mess it up. And there were two main ones that I found that were worthy to talk about because they're, just really cover everything that you could possibly need, and in a very neat way, very easy to find. So I'm going to talk about the regexer or regexr and regular expressions 101. And they basically have, like I was saying, everything that you need. So this is regexer. As an example, let me zoom in here. So here at the top, you have your regex. This is, so for whoever doesn't know what Invoca does, we basically have this call intelligence software. So we basically, if you are our customer, we replace your phone number on your page with our phone number. So we have all these, great rich marketing attribution that you can capture. So one of the things we do is basically we have to recognize the number on the page and replace it. So this is, for example, a regex to recognize phone numbers on the page. Here at the bottom, you have a really neat menu that you can replace using whatever you captured from your groups. So you can do a very you can match a big list and then just easily replace everything. You can see the list of matches. You can see the details of like what matched and what didn't, and you can collapse it. And then here it goes into very much detail into like what your regex will be looking for, which is super neat. Because it can get very complicated with regexes, and just having a like very descriptive list is awesome. It has all kinds of references and cheat sheets. So for example, if I want to have a quick refresher or reminder or anything, I could go into anchors. I can say, I want to look for and anchors. And it basically will give me both a regex that I can test out with and a test. So I can just, have a quick refresher on anything that I want very easily, very quickly. So that's regex R. Also, you can set all your flags here. So I, G, and M, the main ones. And then now regex 101. Again, I have the same pattern here, so we can, the same regex here, just so we can compare. You can choose your flavor of regex right here, and then what this changes is basically it changes the amount of flags you have available to you. It changes all these quick references, the tokens and anchors, all these things that you can use, and basically just the syntax. So that's really cool. There's a neat code generator here, so you can easily apply that to your code. And again, it has the explanation of all what your regex is doing. It has the list of matches by grouping, so you can easily know which group you should reference back or not. And the same thing as regex R. It has just very easy references that you can look for and have a quick refresher if you need to. So I thought that just to end this presentation, I wanted to walk through some other examples of things that I do on a day-to-day and how I implement regex. And phone numbers is basically what we do on a day-to-day. But the thing that came up recently, for example, was what do you do when you have vanity numbers? They don't have the same pattern, so you need to create something different, something new. So I thought that to make this an exciting regex talk, we could do a live regex for vanity numbers. So I got a list of vanity numbers here, and we'll try to match them. You guys can help me if you want, because
Which one do you like the best?
I like regex 101 better. I'm not even gonna lie, probably because I started working with it earlier and just got so used to it, and it's so quick. But Max over here loves regex R, so he can tell you why he likes that. But
I think the same reason you gave is
right?
the first one I saw.
Yeah. But because honestly, they provide the very similar, basically capabilities and functionality. Most of the other ones I saw were more basic. They basically gave you, somewhere where you could type in your regex and your text, and it would tell you if it matched or it didn't. And then those two, they go into detail on like which group this matched. And so like you can easily reference it. It's like makes it really easy before you apply it to your code. So it gives you all the tools that you could possibly need, to be honest.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I guess RegEx 101 is better if you want to, just toggle through the different flavors of RegEx. Go ahead. Yeah. Oh, that is I believe so. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it does. Yeah. So yeah, just go to code generator right here, and then it again takes you to the same. Yeah. So it does. It is really cool. Say that again, sorry.
Which one are you using as its sort of fundamental language that it's converting to do the test? Or is it just doing it with all of them?
JavaScript.
Yeah.
JavaScript.
Yeah, it seems like JavaScript, yeah. Yeah. All right, so we're matching the first three numbers here. Yeah, this goes way back, man. All right, let's set this in a doo-doo-doo. All right. All right, we're matching the first three numbers. Now we have a 1 that may or may not be there. And we have a parentheses that may or may not be there. Let's see. All right. Yes, we're matching everything in the beginning. Now we have, sometimes we have spaces, sometimes we don't. So let's see. We may or may not have spaces or a dot or a hyphen. Is this what's wrong here? Okay, now I think we're matching everything. Cool. All right, now we have, so for vanity numbers, it's normally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 characters. But sometimes we have a hyphen, sometimes we have a space, sometimes we have a dot. We get all kinds of weird patterns. So we can do words. We can do spaces and dots and hyphens. And this has to be 7 or 8 times.
You're hearing PCP or PHP flavored.
There you go. Looks like we're matching everything. I'm gonna say we matched everything. The last phone number. Oh yeah, the plus. So it's a good point. I mean, we could literally just add a. We could skip the plus and just say that it may or may not be there. But if you think about what we're trying to achieve here in terms of just matching if you're replacing the phone number, you don't really need to know if the plus is there or not, right? So, this is just building a very simple vanity regex that's not how our actual vanity regex is. But there's a really cool use case that I worked on recently that basically, it's this website, and here's their phone number. So they have 877-601-math. And then they have, in parentheses, the phone numbers that you should actually call in case you don't know how to call this number. So we basically, what they wanted was, they wanted to change the phone number. And if we did change the phone number, then they wanted the number in parentheses to go away because, it just makes it confusing. So what we did here is, so this is the code that basically, or a code that runs. Whenever it finishes running, it will call this function hide number. And then hide number is basically checking whether we have assigned a phone number to that user. If we have assigned, then we're declaring this regex, which is basically literally just the four numbers in parentheses, and we have to create an array with the CSS class selector that those four numbers in parentheses have, because they're in several different parts of the page. So we'll have to loop through, see if it matches this pattern. If it does, then let's remove it. Basically, is what we're doing here. And now I can actually show you how this does. So right here, you don't have a phone number assigned because we're not indicating a campaign ID. But I do have a campaign ID in case you come in. And so if we add this to the query string, we're going to get an evoke a phone number. And then it just takes away that page. And basically, even if I come back later without the campaign ID, it will again give me the same phone number and delete that again, because it knows that I was assigned a phone number. And if I clear my cookies, it should go back to normal. There you go. But yeah. So this is it. This is regex, JavaScript overview. That's it. Cool. You guys have any questions? Good? Thanks.
What RegEx 101 uses, it seems like it's C++.
Oh,
So it's like a binary.
if they don't get help.
JavaScript, through C++. Yeah.
Thanks, Max.
Yes. Yeah. The
Is it
person
that, or
who
is it
made
like
it,
transpiled?
it's probably, so I don't know, I'm guessing because it's not open source, but he has some stuff which uses this regex backtracking thing in C++, and then he's also using LLVM JavaScript transpiler. So it's probably a fair amount of C++ bindings for that kind of stuff. So.
Nice. Cool. Thanks for looking up, Max. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Ron.
Yeah, for sure. Oh,
Great
thanks,
job.
Tim. Yeah, thanks.
Let's give
I
it
like
a hand
that.
to Ron. Guys, preparation to get up here and talk. So I really appreciate you stepping up to the plate, Ron. It's awesome to see people get up here, the first time in particular. And you, too, can stand right here where Luan stood tonight and dazzle us with your JavaScript topic. And since we only have one more speaker scheduled for the end of this calendar year, and then the calendar's wide open for next year, that means all of you. I know there's some people here that have been coming to these for a while, haven't given talks. You gave a talk, you gave a talk, you've given a talk. The rest of you guys haven't given a talk yet. It goes for you, George, and Jonah, especially. Kino's giving one. So seriously, think about what you want to talk about. There's a whole, JavaScript is eating the world, literally, at this point. It's not just in the browser anymore. It's on the server, it's in databases, it's on devices, it's everywhere. So, what's that?
It's on sewing machines.
It's on sewing machines, that's right. Knitting machines.
Knitting.
They're close enough. No, but what that means realistically is that the universe of topics related to JavaScript is huge, right? So, there's a plethora. That's my favorite. One of my favorite words, plethora. There's a plethora of topics out there, yeah. A cornucopia of topics out there, yeah. It's actually very apt with Thanksgiving coming in a couple days. So seriously, think about it. Let me know or let Garvin know, and we will get it on the calendar. And if I don't hear from anybody, I will be forced to put a talk together for January. What I probably will do is just regurgitate one of the ones I've given before and see how many people forgot about it. Because that way I don't have to prepare, right?
ES6 again?
What's that?
You gonna do ES6 again?
I could, right? Now I could do like ES6 in depth a year later, right? See what features people are actually using. Interestingly enough, we've been using it in production for a while now. And we've barely scratched the surface in terms of the actual features that have been implemented in our code base. Like I made a point to implement async generators to solve a specific problem, A, because I thought they were really cool, but more importantly, because I'm a pragmatist, to solve a specific problem that they solved very eloquently. And I'll just give you that in a nutshell. We wanted to do a fixed number of retries on a peripheral device, right? And because those requests are to a REST interface and are asynchronous, you know, previously we had code in there that used promises, and then a global counter in that module that checked the number of times it had been retried, and then you had failure and success callbacks. And it's doable, but the code is hard to reason about. With async generators, it's a for loop. Everybody can understand a for loop, and it reads really easily. It reads like synchronous code, right? So that's, and generators, in my opinion, are one of the most important features that ECMAScript 6 brought to the table. A lot of it is syntactical sugar, which is neat, right? And reduces the amount of boilerplate code you might write. But the important features, the really important features are things like generators and proxies, stuff like that. And so, you know, our team has barely scratched the surface. We've got class declarations, and we've got some let and const in there, and we've got some object destructuring, and we've got async generators, but we don't have a lot of the really cool stuff yet. And partly that's because we just have a feature roadmap that's extremely aggressive, and we haven't got time to do it. But the other thing that we did recently was start implementing JSPM. How many people are familiar with JSPM? No one.
Sounds like a talk.
It does. So I gave a talk earlier in the year. I gave a talk about Webpack. You're all familiar with Webpack, right? Everyone knows Webpack? Who doesn't know Webpack? Or what it is anyway. Okay. So Webpack is a module bundler, and I'll try to keep this short. You know, we recently got native modules in JavaScript after 20 years, and we got something that's a basic construct in most other languages, the ability to actually modularize your code and, you know, declare dependencies and whatnot. But there have been module patterns in existence for quite a few years, starting with ifs and the JavaScript revealing and regular module patterns. And then on the server side, they came up with CommonJS, which took off like crazy after Node became a thing. And then in the browser, there was the answer to that, which was the asynchronous module definition as exemplified by RequireJS. And the two of them were disparate solutions to the same problem. Now we have native modules. So now we have a third module syntax, essentially. And with that comes the problem that there's no way for browsers to load modules, right? And so the common approach has been to take CommonJS modules and now ES6 module syntax, and then transform them into a format that's consumable by the browser, which is going to be AMD, essentially. So Webpack, the first one to do that was Browserify. Webpack has kind of since taken the world by storm and become the de facto module bundler. JSPM takes a slightly different approach. JSPM is a dependency manager that sits on top of System.js, which is a universal module loader, which sits on top of the ES6 reference implementation of the module loader spec, which did not make the cut for ES6. We got modules, but we did not get a module loader spec. And so this is kind of follows the spec pretty closely, and then JSPM sits on top of that and provides a variety of registries from which you can pull those dependencies, and then it actually does loading of those asynchronously in the browser. It's kind of more of a forward-thinking approach. It's looking forward to a time when HTTP2 is widespread, and we don't get penalized for multiple HTTP requests because we can open a single TCP connection and then have full multiplexing. And then everything we know about bundling assets as best practices will go out the window. So anyway, we started doing that, and that actually might be a worthwhile talk. Yeah? Anyone in for a talk like that? Okay. But I'm not going to do it before one of you guys gets to talk. All right, that's all I got. Thanks for coming, guys. Really appreciate it, and we will see you next month.